he should be really easy to find. There are crowds everywhere. Well, and he's not even walking. He's riding a donkey. I heard a young girl say that this morning 2 of his followers came into the village where they live, and they just simply untied her grandfather's donkey. Well, a servant asked them what they thought they were doing, and they said, "The Lord has need of it." Well, a friend of mine and I have been discussing just what all of this means. Because earlier in the week, Pontius Pilate came into town, and of course, he had the soldiers in front of him and the soldiers behind him, and it was a great big production, but let me tell you, we all just tried to ignore him and pretend like we were really busy. And the next day, Herod came into town, and of course, he had his whole contingent. But nobody came out to hail either of them as they came into town. But today, the crowds are everywhere, shouting, "Hosanna! Hosanna to God in the highest!" And some of them even take off their cloaks and lay them down in front of the donkey for the donkey to walk on. And Jesus coming into Jerusalem on the donkey has a symbol to proclaim him as king, a king bringing peace. In our scriptures, in Zechariah 9, it says, "For your king will come to you, righteous and full of salvation, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." Now, I gotta admit, I heard a few people laughing and talking and saying, "What is this fool carpenter doing on a donkey, proclaiming himself as a king?" And there were scribes who were very upset because they said he was being arrogant and committing blasphemy. Oh, but the majority of the people are so happy to see him. They are shouting, they are praising God, and they can't wait for the throne of David to be reestablished in Jerusalem and for the Roman rule to be overthrown. They can't wait to put a robe on his shoulders and a crown on his head. I saw a woman, and she says she had been sick for 12 years, and none of the physicians could help her. And she merely touched Jesus' cloak, and she was healed. And there were a whole group of men causing a big stir over to the side. They claim they were lepers, and Jesus healed them. Let me tell you, there was no sign of leprosy or scars anywhere on those men. And I saw Mary. Mary, who had given everything she had, her alabaster jar of nard, her wedding dowry. She had given it to Jesus. Jesus is worth everything to her. I wonder if I could have done the same. Oh, and I saw Peter and John and James. They seemed a little puzzled about all this attention that everyone was giving to Jesus, but they were proud to be with him too. And I saw Martha and Mary and Lazarus. Lazarus was there. Surely you have heard about Lazarus and what happened in the past few weeks. You haven't? Well, let me tell you. Lazarus and Jesus were very good friends. And just a short time ago, Lazarus became extremely ill. Now, Martha swears that if Jesus had been there, Lazarus would have been cured. But Jesus wasn't there, and Lazarus died. And so they anointed his body and wrapped it in cloth and put it in the tomb. 3 days later, Jesus did come. And there were still a number of people there, for Lazarus was a very young, popular person, and they were there to pay their condolences and to try to comfort Martha and Mary. And Martha confronted Jesus and said, "Lord, if you had been here, he would not have died." And Jesus wept. And then he asked the strangest thing. He asked some men to roll aside the stone that led into the tomb. And everyone said, "Oh, Lord, you don't want to do that. It's been 3 days, and the stench is bound to be unbearable." But Jesus persisted, and they rolled it away. And weeping, he went in to see Lazarus. A short time later, he came out. His face was beaming. And behind him walked Lazarus. Lazarus is alive. Can you imagine a man who can bring the dead back to life? Jesus must be the Messiah. Well, come on, we better go. I need to warn you, there's probably Roman guards everywhere. They're all over in the city. You'd think that we were carrying swords and knives instead of palm branches. Come on, let's go. Oh, there he is. But everyone has stopped. I wonder why. Oh, I see him. He's shaking. He must be laughing with joy like the rest of us for this glorious day. Oh, he's not laughing. He's weeping. Shh. He's going to say something. Did you hear what he said? He said, "If you, even you, O Jerusalem, had only known what peace could be yours today. But now it's hidden from your eyes. The days are coming when your enemies will build up an embankment around you. They will encircle you and hem you in. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within your walls. And all because you did not recognize when God came to you." I wonder what it is that Jesus sees when he looks out over Jerusalem that causes him such sadness. Does he see people who are so busy with their everyday lives, with making money, with trying to find the way to pay their taxes, with their health, with their families, with just everyday busy things that they don't bother to look and to think about things that are eternally important? Does he see anyone who recognizes him for who he is? The Messiah, the Christ, the Son of God. I wonder what he will say when he looks into my eyes. Will what he sees there cause him to weep further? Today, we celebrate Palm Sunday. We celebrate Jesus as our King, who comes into our hearts, our own personal Jerusalem. Will there be room for him there? Often, Jesus can't come into our hearts because it's already filled with another king, ourselves. So as we take our palms home today, let them be a reminder of who is the King, the true King in this world, in our families, and in our lives. Jesus is the only answer to true contentment, meaning,